Okay, I'm late with this. I should have done it last night after I watched the show, but I was sleepy, and then today I had to go out and do some errands, so I'm just now getting to it. So this is my haves and have-nots review of last night's episode. We're still in the aftermath of Amanda's death. So we picked up from when we left off last week, and that was when the police said that Amanda's death was a homicide, not a suicide. And Veronica and David are trying to get some understanding from the police of how that determination was made without the Emmy and the DA actually making that determination, because so far the Emmy and the DA have not made that determination. Um, so, and the police, they still want to question everyone in the house, and Veronica says that's not happening. And Wyatt pipes up and says he has something to say, and that just turns into a big fight with Jim, because Jim's trying to shut him up because Wyatt just wanted to spill everything and tell all their business, all their secrets, what Jim and David have covered up, all of that, and just bring everybody's world crashing down. And so Jeffrey gets Wyatt to the kitchen, and from there, the DA, she shows up. And David's thinking that she's playing some kind of game about that hit and run, and she says, well, no, I wouldn't play any games like that with this. I wouldn't come into Jim's home and accuse him when his daughter is being killed, and I do everything above board, unlike you and Jim do. She got that little shot in at him. And so she goes on upstairs to do her thing. And while that's going on, Celine decides it's time to get some stuff going. So Celine comes back in the house, and she's saying, oh, I want to comfort Jim, I want to comfort Jim. And Jim doesn't want anything to do with her. And Veronica's saying, you need to go. You've been fired. And Celine says, cállate. Veronica responds to that with como. So Veronica, we find out, speaks Spanish. And so they go back and forth at it, and it looks kind of like a scene out of a telenovela. Celine says in Espanol to Veronica, you're the one that needs to go, and Veronica calls her a wretched creature. So it was kind of like a bit of a telenovela scene there. And so David tells Veronica, sit down. And Veronica's like, okay. And that was an interesting scene to me, because that's the first time we've seen Veronica back down. And I'm guessing that Veronica is willing to back down at certain times. And I guess this is one of them. So she backed down off of that. And so Celine's, all her stuff just ends up spilling out. The truth about her just comes spilling out. And we find out that we already knew she had one son with Jim, but we find out she has two of them with him. One of them's like 7, so that's the child that she was getting money from Jim for. And that's what she has over Jim's head. So pretty much that's what's going on with that story. I'm trying to go through, and so I don't want to forget anything. I'm going to try to just go through the storylines as they, instead of chronologically. I'm just trying to go through all of them, by storyline. So Catherine spills that truth. She says it won't look at Celine anymore. She's all old and used up. And Celine's just making a fool of herself. She's trying to comfort Jim. He wants no part of her. He's pushing her away and everything. And Catherine goes into the story of how she met Jim back in 1979. She was a teenager. He was the captain of the ball team, and she was so thrilled and surprised that the captain of the ball team would smile at her but it was all part of his plan. He knew what her last name was. He was after her father's good name and standing and her father's money. He had a plan. So, and we've known this from the start of the series that Jim used Catherine's good name to excel in the legal field and become a judge and all that, and have money, and that he relies a lot on Catherine's money. And so we can probably see that a little bit of that has come back on him through Candace, is that Candace has kind of drugged him through the mud to get money. I mean, which is almost the same thing he did with Catherine. He used Catherine for money. Well, Candace has used him to get money and get ahead, but she's really just drugged him through the mud to do it. So it's a bit of karma coming back on Jim. So Catherine details all this. She says she endured all this pain, all the cheating, all of that, and she blames him for Amanda pulling the trigger. She says if you had have had her committed, if you had have listened to me, this would not have happened. Now, Jim didn't listen to Catherine, and I think partially he didn't listen to her because he didn't want to have his daughter committed while he was getting ready to run a political campaign, and he was trying to protect the political campaign there. And, you know, there's a bit of a selfish reason there that he had for not wanting to commit Amanda, because if that truth got out, you know, that leads to some awkward questions being asked. And so Catherine, she dumps all that out. She was smoking a cigarette, that's the first time we've seen Catherine do that. I thought that was weird. First time, and it was just a little out of the blue, but that's just a small little thing. So after Catherine finishes detailing her past with Jim, she calmly tells Celine that she needs to leave her home. Celine still doesn't want to leave. Catherine is trying to get her out calmly. And finally, Catherine just explodes. She goes over and she slaps her, and she's dragging her by her hair on the floor. And the police have to restrain Catherine. And even after that, Celine wants to resist leaving. She's not going anywhere, and she's trying to be there for Jim, but Jim wants no part of her. He really won't even look at her, so Catherine was right about him. He won't even look at Celine anymore. So he's pretty much just used her all up and has no use for her anymore. Just thrown her aside like an old dish rag or something. And so finally Celine says, okay, I'll leave. And then she goes. And also we have we got a little scene with Candace and Warlock. Not much going on there. She gave Warlock his money. She's trying to get him to go legit. Benny had a scene with this girl who was trying to get rid of this car that her boyfriend gave her. She wanted it towed. She ended up selling it to Benny for $500, and he gives it to Hannah at the end of the episode. And, I don't know why they do this with Benny and these girls. Every season they have him interact with a girl for like a few scenes or a scene in an episode, and then we don't see the girl again. It seems like they might be trying to bring someone on for him, but we don't see the girl again, and I'm having a feeling we're not going to see this girl again, even though he had a fairly long scene with her and interacted with her. I don't think we're going to see her again. And Benny only seems to be a plot device for Hannah or Candace, so that seems to be all they have to do for him. He doesn't really have any sort of story of his own. And from there, Candace had a little conversation with Landon, and he's talking about Veronica. Like, he says he hates her, but he likes her at the same time because she knows how to get out of stuff. And I think he describes how the viewers feel about the character. You know, you don't like her, but you like her at the same time because she's a manipulator and all that. So he kind of describes the way the viewers feel about the character. And that's where she finds out that Amanda is dead. She committed suicide. She just gets up from there and just goes. She just leaves. And then there's Wyatt and Jeffrey, and Wyatt is determined just to draw truth, and Jeffrey's trying to stop him. He says, "I don't want anybody to get in trouble." And Jeffrey says, well, Wyatt says, "Why are you so afraid of everything? You're afraid of your mother. You're afraid of your truth. And Wyatt, it's just like he feels like he has nothing left to lose. I think he feels so much guilt over what he did with the hit and run. He actually feels like he has nothing left to lose, and he feels like he wants to talk. And Jeffrey's like, he is under the impression that Wyatt cares about him, and I'm not sure if Wyatt cares about him at all. It's kind of hard to read that, and I'm not sure if Jeffrey believes that care is, sort of a romantic type of care. If he's just thinking that Jeffrey cares for him as a friend, I'm not even sure what Jeffrey's thinking at that. So anyway, Jeffrey's not getting anywhere with Wyatt, so he kind of just backs off with Wyatt, and toward the end of the episode, the DA determines that there was no foul play, and that it was a suicide, and they bring the body down, and Jim and Catherine take a peek at Amanda, and it becomes real for them. They already know that she's gone, but just seeing her made it more real for them, and they break down. And what else happened? Oh yeah, and then there was the scene with at the end, a little scene with Hannah and Benny, and we're gonna probably finally see Hannah and Candace together for the first time in the season, because Hannah wants to see Candace. She tells me, "Take me to your sister." After what happened with Amanda, Hannah wants to see her own daughter after being in the middle of such a tragedy. So that was the show this week. The energy levels coming down a bit. You can feel it. That there's such high energy. The past like 2 or 3 episodes, such high energy going on. Starting to level off now. The emotions were still raw, but the energy is leveling off now, and the storylines are starting to even out and everything. But next week looks like Quincy finally gets to Jeffries, and Jeffries gonna have a fight with him. Jeffrey looks like he's trying to defend himself, but I think that might turn out badly for Jeffrey, and in turn turn out badly for Veronica. Because if David finds out that she sent a thug to beat up his son, yeah, Veronica's not gonna have a marriage left. So that was it for this. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching my review. I hope I didn't leave anything out, but I sort of a messy review, but I wanted to get on here and do it. So thanks for watching, and deuces.